Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Nerds with Friends. My name is Cody Leach. As always, I'm joined by Chris Garcia.
Some nerds.
Sup, my nerds? Look at us doing it 2 weeks in a row, basically. That's pretty exciting. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about superhero movie fatigue slash Marvel movie fatigue, and kind of, the state of comic book movies in general. Are people just kind of done with them? Because, several of the last comic book movies that have come out have not done great, but then we have something like Deadpool that did do really well. And we just kind of want to talk about whether or not we feel like the world at large is kind of over the superhero hype, or if it's just people getting bored. And maybe James Gunn will save the whole thing.
Yeah, was
So
Nerdrotic right? Is the movie did Disney kill like all the Marvel movies and comic book movies?
we'll see. We'll all about it more in just a little bit. But let's start as we always do with some nerdy confessions, where we confess what we've been doing that's kind of nerdy. Christian, why don't you give us a start?
Well, if we're talking about what we've been doing that's nerdy, I talked about painting minis last time. It wasn't gonna be what I was doing, what I was gonna
Well, you
mention.
could just, just nerdy confessions.
Well, so my nerdy confession, when I was telling Cody earlier, is that I see Christopher Nolan is doing a new movie, which I don't know. I probably have said on the podcast. I know I've definitely said it on Twitter. I'm not the biggest Nolan
Yeah,
fan. I don't dislike him. I think he's a great director. I just don't think he's an amazing storyteller.
yeah.
So his next upcoming project is The Odyssey, or just titled Odyssey. And
Well, we're all kind of assuming it's the Odyssey.
I'm assuming I'm guessing. At least everything I've seen on Twitter like has like, Roman buildings in the background. But he's got some choices which I think are amazing cast choices. But I'm curious to how a lot of the Nolan nuts are gonna feel about it. But I was mentioning to Cody, so John Leguizamo,
Great.
obviously Roman or Greek,
Well,
super Greek.
he's Italian, I guess, so he's could be
Leguizamo?
Roman.
No, he's like Puerto Rican.
Oh, is he? I thought he was Italian American. He could be Puerto Rican.
No, he's super Puerto Rican, man.
I don't
Not
know.
gonna can't hide a New Yorican from me.
Leguizamo sounds like an Italian name.
The Spaniards, the Italians, they were all getting it on,
All the
man.
same.
It was all they were all throwing it everywhere. Elliot Page, which I feel people are gonna have some feelings, but um, Lupita Nyong'o.
I love her.
Oh yeah, she's fucking awesome.
I love her so much. You know what I
Uh,
watched with her the other day, that I didn't think I was gonna like was the Quiet 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 Place. Is that the John Krasinski movie?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
she was in the one called
A
like Day
prequel.
One or something like that,
Yeah,
which is like the prequel, like the day the aliens came in. It was
yeah.
actually pretty good. I enjoyed it.
It
She
was. It was interesting. It was an interesting take. Like the character she was playing and
Mhm.
dealing with it. I guess we could talk about it, but
Yeah, it's okay.
we're not gonna ruin it. It's been
Uh,
out. But yeah, I'm kind of curious, and it's gonna be starring Tom Holland, which I guess he can pass for like Greek.
I guess. I mean, British people as Greek people is, that's a tale as old as time.
The Brits were always playing like Romans, and yeah. But I'm kind of curious, man. I'm kind of curious to how a lot of the fans are gonna react to it. I feel like if there was gonna be a movie or at least a casting that would start turning people against, like this would be it. I just feel like there's a lot of like nerdrotic fans are like, these people of color are ruining shit. I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of them are associated with Nolan. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe everyone will be down.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I think Christopher Nolan, one thing that I've always thought about his movies is whether or not like it's like a great story or has a lot of like rewatchability or what, but no matter what, when you see one of his movies, it's going to be like a cinematic experience. It's going to be fun to see in the theaters, I think, Like, I don't know if I ever
Oppenheimer.
really want to
Oppenheimer
watch
was great for sure.
which one?
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer, yeah. Like, I don't know if I ever want to watch Oppenheimer again, but I'm glad I saw it on the big screen. It was
Yeah.
a fun thing to see. But
I
yeah,
did see a video. Someone recorded it, and they must have fucking timed this. But like, I don't know if you remember when the bomb drops, there's like silence,
Yeah,
complete silence, and someone just rips one really loud,
amazing.
and you just hear an old man laugh far away, like ah, like
That's awesome. Well, my narrative confession, I guess mine, I've been deep in mini painting. I was doing that right before we started recording here.
fuck yeah,
I've been doing a lot of stuff, and glad that I got you into it. So I did 3D print you
yeah, I'm fucking
some
excited, man.
busts. So these are pretty cool. What's cool too is like I printed the bases for these too.
Oh, nice.
So like I didn't have to like drill a bunch of holes and stuff. But yeah, I just been having a good time. My buddy's got me this really cool Warhammer model for my birthday, and I've been working on him. It's Mortarion, who he's one of the Primarchs, which is like the leaders of the various Space Marine factions, and he's like this big giant. Well, that's just one arm and his legs. And he's got these cool wings that I've been working on that I've been doing kind of like a little bit of a gradient on them and stuff. But yeah,
Airbrush, I'm assuming.
yeah, I've been doing a little airbrushing. Look, I got my airbrush right here. This is my little hobby. My little hobby area is all where my computer is and stuff. So yeah, I've just been hitting it hard with the miniature stuff, and it's fun because like you know you'll sit there and it'll be like 3 hours will go by, and you're like, ah, fuck. I didn't realize how much time went by because you just get kind of like lost in the sauce and stuff. But yeah, man, it's been a good time lately. It's fun to like be able to give into your hobbies and stuff, rather than having to like feel like you're always got other shit to do or whatnot.
I
So,
wish I'd gotten into mini painting sooner, just because I started just painting with regular acrylics and just trying to work on something so tiny.
hmm
Like now, like doing a detail and like a painting, and like I'm not even painting big. It's like this, and like trying to get details in the eyes. I'm like, oh, easy. Like
yeah,
I'm just like I'm was working on something like this earlier. Like this is oh fucking bam. Like there we go. Like nice.
yeah,
So it's like trying something on expert mode and then going back to normal. You're like, oh fuck yeah. Like
yeah. That's kind of how I feel when I'm painting like busts and stuff, because when you have a little miniature like this guy, trying to paint the little eyeballs on him is a lot different than painting on something like this size, because
but
then
look at that.
again, when it's bigger, you have to put more detail and
I
stuff.
think
Yeah,
when I start doing those little tiny figures, I'm just gonna treat it as an exercise.
yeah,
And like doing the bus is just so to me is just so much more fun.
hmm
Like because you can try to get a bunch of detail in there. And like I guess that's how I'm gonna treat it so I don't drive myself insane.
yeah. Well, I think one thing that kind of trips a lot of people up when you're getting into mini painting, and this is probably true for like diorama making and stuff like that too, is like you can't go into it thinking that like you're not going to screw up, right? Like part of learning how to do things is making little mistakes and stuff and just adapting to it. And it's not going to be perfect, but you can always repaint and go over it again and that sort of thing and readjust. But like, I think a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to paint this one yet because I'm afraid of messing it up. And it's like, like especially with these 3D printing ones, just print out another one. It takes 4 hours or whatever and print a brand new one. I think it's always better to just get in there and put some paint onto whatever, onto some plastic and just like get going because I think a lot of people just kind of put themselves off, and I see this on like a lot of mini painting communities that I'm in on online and stuff. They're like, "Hey guys, I've been testing a bunch of paints on the black backs of these plastic spoons, and I'm not getting very good coverage." And like, dude, stop painting spoons. What are you doing?
Get in there, get your hands dirty.
Yeah, get a mini and start putting some paint on a mini. What are you doing with spoons? And it's just like there's a lot of that out there. So
In art school, like one of what a teacher told us once was like when you're having those issues, like you're getting nervous to start, you're afraid to make a mistake, like have a half a glass of wine,
yeah,
and then because it
this
just
little
gets I know you don't want to do that. Fucking
To take a hit off the mineral spirits, just
it just gives you that liquid courage of just like, bam, you're
yeah,
just gonna start like, and then you're not afraid. Like, fuck it, I'm not gonna like. Let me just start mixing paint, start doing it, and then it's like later on, you go and edit like after, like
yeah.
mistakes after.
I think that's true with like any hobby or like skill-based thing, right? Like you want to play guitar, like just start playing, pick it up and start strumming along on it. Yeah, it's gonna sound bad, but eventually, if you do it long enough, you'll figure some things out and it'll start sounding better. But the key is not to be afraid of it, not afraid to
Yeah,
try new
it's like
things.
you got 10,000 mistakes in you, and you need to get them out of your body. You just got to start getting them out.
You gotta get the poison out. Yep. Alrighty. Well, let's talk a little bit about Marvel movies or comic book movies in general. So
What do we got lined up? Let's
th
take a look.
this year, okay, here's Marvel. I was able to pull this up.
We got Captain America.
Well, first we've already had Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which is animated on Disney Plus.
I haven't seen it
Daredevil,
yet. I
I
haven't
haven't
seen
seen
it
it
yet.
yet either. Daredevil Born Again coming out March 4th. Thunderbolts May 2nd. Ironheart June 24th. Fantastic Four July 25th. Eyes of Wakanda August 6th. And Captain America, when is that coming out?
I think it's February, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, yeah. Oh, yeah, I think, because we got tickets to it. Yeah, I think it's February 15th or 14th or something. It's
But
down there.
isn't that right there, a great example that like the state of it, right? Where
Hmm.
normally me and you'd be like fucking counting down the days of
Yeah,
like when shit was coming out, super jazzed and excited, and I was like, when is that again? Oh, that's
yeah,
right, it's this month.
right. Exactly. Exactly. Oh, it's in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think we had it good for a long, long
we
time.
had it fucking great.
The first 10 years of the MCU are something that we'll probably never see in cinematic history again until Brandon Sanderson starts making movies. And then, dear God. But I think the problem that they've run into now is the Infinity Saga leading up to Thanos and Infinity War and all that stuff was so meticulously like put together step by step by step by step that it eventually like culminated in these two movies that were like fantastic. And it's hard to restart from that, especially when you've used up a lot of your characters and actors don't want to come back. Now Robert Downey Jr. up until recently was gone, and now he's back as Doctor Doom apparently. Chris Evans is done, but someone's saying he might come back.
There's been a lot of talk. People have asked him, and he says like, "No, I'm happily retired." But he did pop up for um,
Deadpool.
Deadpool. So
Yeah, I think you know, I think a big problem is comic books can make a character go on forever because Tony Stark can literally live forever in the comic book, right? And if he dies, they can bring him back. They can do this and this and that, and because they have so much page count to fill out, when they're doing a monthly comic or a weekly comic, you got to come up with new stuff and you got to really be inventive. in in movies, these actors they get old or they don't want to do it anymore, or they move on to other things, their contracts up, and so you're limited by that. And so now they have to kind of get creative with what they're going to do. They have to reach into some other characters that maybe they wouldn't have normally, that aren't strong enough necessarily to carry an entire franchise like that.
and it's an interesting point you bring up too, because like in the comics, like someone else inks it or draws it, whatever, not big deal. They look a little bit different. It's fine. You're used to that. These things come out, bi-weekly, monthly, but like when you're so used to seeing, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, if you stick someone else in there, everyone's gonna be like, "Ugh, that's not Iron Man,"
Yeah,
But
especially with him because he was so iconic as Tony Stark. Like the two of them, their personalities and nuance between like the way he acts as Tony Stark is so matched up that it's hard to separate from that, right? But with Spider-Man, we've had three Spider-Mans now, right?
Yeah.
And two of them were very well received. Andrew Garfield, unfortunately, like kind of got the short end of that. Not that
You know,
he's
and I've always said it, and I'm pretty sure I said it on the podcast. He was a great Spider-Man. Like his, like, what he would say, his dialogue
when he
was,
had the suit on, yeah.
yeah, when he had the suit on, like what he would say to the villains was very much like it was in the comics. But it's just like the way they had written Peter Parker was just terrible. Like that's not Peter Parker, man. Like
Yeah.
he's not the outside skater kid,
Right.
like it's not
Right.
him. Like
And yeah, I don't think those movies were his fault. You know what I mean? I think he did a good job as given the material he was given. He's a good actor. So, those movies just weren't written well. And, Sony has only continued to make incredible movies.
yeah, and then in particular the last Spider-Man movie they did, like all of that with all three of them were great, So it's like everything Garfield did was fucking great in it.
Yep,
So
absolutely. So yeah, is it just that we don't care about these characters as much anymore? These more side characters? Like, look, Anthony Mackie as Captain America. I like Anthony Mackie as an actor, but it's hard for me to care about the Falcon as much as I cared about Steve Rogers Captain America. And the same would kind of be true for Bucky, because it's not the same, but at least with Bucky, it's more like he has a history with Captain America, right? And the Falcon, like, yes, they kind of teamed up in the comic books for a long time, but it didn't have the same gravitas as, oh, it's the only other guy from 1942 that that's still alive. You know what I mean? So it's hard to like care as much about him as I did with the original Captain America. Now, we have other things like Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts is, for those who aren't familiar, is kind of like the Marvel version of Suicide Squad. Originally, they were put together by Thunderbolt Ross, who is a Harrison Ford's character in the new Captain America.
which they could still might do. I mean, he's in there,
Yeah,
president now, so maybe a possibility he did put it together on the side. But anyway,
yeah, but it's so that movie I think has kind of lower stakes because there's not like, at least none that I read, there's not like an incredible defining Thunderbolt story that like is like, oh, this is the one, you know what I mean? So
that's actually of all the things we mentioned, that's actually the one that I'm kind of looking forward to the most, because they can actually, like, sorry to say for people who watch it, but they can actually kill off a lot of these characters.
right.
Like something crazy and dramatic could happen, and like no one's really gonna care if like Ghost or like Taskmaster, even though I love Taskmaster in the comics, but like if these characters die, I mean, everyone's just kind of like, like it's
Yeah.
fine, but they could do it hopefully in a dramatic, gruesome way because after Deadpool, I don't even know what rating the movie has, but
Yeah, I don't know. And also, I mean, a little bit of a spoiler, I guess, but the guy Bob in the trailer is the Sentry, and he could instantly destroy any of those Thunderbolts. So, I mean, it could, and I think that's a fun place to be when it comes to a movie because like when we see a Fantastic Four movie, like which is coming out this summer, right?
tomorrow is the trailer, I believe.
Trailer's dropping
Yeah.
tomorrow, yeah. But when we see Fantastic Four, there's certain expectations that we have, right? We want Galactus, we want Doctor Doom, we want Silver Surfer.
Silver Surfer.
Those are like the main three things that you want to see out of a Fantastic Four movie, right? And so if if those specific qualities aren't really hit there, then it's like, oh, we it leaves a lot more room for disappointment, right? But um when it's something like the Thunderbolts, like I don't have any expectations really. Like hopefully it's good. There's good action. hopefully we see some guys do the things that they're known for. That's all I really look for, you know.
And
And
I think like if there's potential for some rated R stuff, it's gonna be that one. But I don't
yeah,
know. We'll see.
yeah, yeah, we'll have to see. Now, I think Marvel in these next couple of movies, they have to really buy back some goodwill because they've really, you know, I think the last few movies that have come out have really been kind of aside from Deadpool. Deadpool is kind of its own thing anyway. It's kind of like the last of the Fox movies anyway. But I think they need to really buy back some goodwill because, the last several, Marvel movies post Infinity War have not done very well. And now there's the other side of the coin, which is DC, which,
That's what I'm actually most excited about, to be
yeah.
perfectly honest.
So with
James Gunn.
DC, we had Man of Steel, which was fairly well received, though I think a lot of people hated on it, big time Superman fans or whatever. But overall, of the DC movies, I'd say that's probably the best received. Well, Wonder Woman. I think Wonder Woman, the first
The
Wonder
first
Woman,
one, yeah.
was really well received too, and the first Shazam did a pretty good job too, right? So there's a couple of good ones in there. But overall, the DC universe has had a rough time adapting their shows or adapting their properties into movies, and now James Gunn has the opportunity to really establish something with this new Superman movie.
I feel like it's gonna be rough. Like, I think the Snyder fans are gonna give it a rough fucking go.
It's okay. There wasn't that many Snyder fans, they didn't go.
Apparently there are now. Like apparently now he did the most amazing like shit for DC. I don't know if you've seen the little bit of I don't know the actor's name, but the guy playing Superman where he's flying and like, oh look at his eyes. Like it kind of looks like one of his eyes looks slightly wonky. Like a little bit. But that's really enough to say the movie's gonna be shit. That's enough where like you're hating it already.
I mean, they could also go back in there and CGI that thing, you know what I mean?
I
Because,
guess, like, I don't know. Maybe his suit has too much color. Maybe everything's not sepia. I don't know.
well,
I,
one thing for James Gunn's movies, at least the ones that we've seen, he's not afraid of doing the comic book thing, None of his characters seem like they're ashamed that they're a superhero, you know what I mean? So it's like, I think we have the potential to go in and see an actual like Superman movie. Like even in the trailer, right? We saw Crypto the super dog. We saw one of the I forget Guy Gardner, the is that the Green Lantern? The one with the
one of,
bowl cut? I think it's Guy.
oh, I don't know. People were upset about that too. It's like, dude, that's how he fucking looks in the
That's how he
comic.
looks. Sorry. And Mr. Terrific, there's he's throwing in deep cut comic book heroes in there, Hawk Girl. And so like I think we're gonna see a very comic, maybe not comic accurate, but comic intensive movie with that Superman movie, and I'm excited to see what he does with it. And I think that movie, more than any of these Marvel movies, is really going to be the judge of whether or not people are tired of superhero movies in general.
I
What do you
mean, he's got his slate up too. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that's coming up. Ba, 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 ba. Just had it.
let's see here. Superman is in July, July 11th. Peacemaker season 2 is in August. Sandman season 2 is sometime this year. Though I heard they canceled any
Yeah, they're not doing anything after.
after
Peacemaker season 2.
after what's his name raped everybody. He didn't do that. But it's funny. Neil Gaiman is like I've always disliked Neil Gaiman as a person.
Really?
Yeah, I don't even like his stuff that much, honestly. Um, but like I was so like vindicated when those allegations came out. I'm like, yeah, he's a piece of shit. Um, we got the Batman part two is coming out next year.
Which we're not too sure if that's going to be DC. At least I haven't seen anything that it's going to be confirmed in his universe. So
Yeah, I mean, initially they said it was going to be separate. It was going to be an Elseworlds DC property. And that was one thing. If you guys never watched the James Gunn, like where he came out and like announced his plans for DC, there's going to be the DCU or whatever they're calling it, which is mainline DC connected universe, and that's going to include both animated and live action and potentially TV stuff. But then there's going to be Elseworlds, which is things like the Joker, the Batman, that can be their own thing and still tell an interesting story, but aren't confined to, fitting in the mold of like the greater overall DC universe. And I think that's kind of smart is to leave that out there. Because the first Joker was a pretty good movie. Second one was a pile of shit. But like it's cool that they like took a swing with it and made something different and interesting, and that's okay, I think. Um but yeah, there's not a lot of like not a lot of concrete stuff yet. It's primarily Superman, Peacemaker, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow is June of next year, and then the Batman's October of next year. Everything
the
else is kind of
Creature
in between.
Commandos, I think, is already out, right? I haven't seen it yet. I really want
No,
to.
I haven't seen that one
And
yet.
then there's the Waller series as well, which was supposed to come out sooner, but I guess it got delayed. There's the Lanterns project, which is supposed to be like space cops.
Yeah,
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 also
yeah, yeah.
sounds pretty cool.
Swamp Thing, Teen Titans, Bane, Deathstroke, Clayface, Booster Gold, Blue Beetle
Boost,
animated series.
Booster Gold, I feel like is going to be amazing
Could be. It could be.
because he can do so much ridiculous stuff with it because the character is meant to be a joke.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know. Like, I think he's got a hard uphill battle for everyone who wants to see what was done, like just a continuation of what was done before with DC. Like DC has a lot of serious comics for sure, but they also have goofy shit. I mean, look at
Yeah.
Plastic Man. Like they have a lot of goofy shit, but I don't know if people are going to be ready to accept the goofy shit.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that Marvel did really well. Love the Marvel movies or hate them. Like they accepted some of the more like goofy comic book things that happen in those comics, right? While still being able to have, like have things like Thanos happen, right? And I think DC, like the Snyderverse, one thing it did not do, at least for the very actual Zack Snyder portion of it, they did not lean into any of the jokey stuff like that. That was more of like Joss Whedon's Justice League that they leaned into that, and then the Flash was just really really goofball status. But I don't know. It's one of those things. It's a fine line that you have to try to walk where serious things still have weight and consequences to them, but also, we want to be able to see, uh, Superman be Clark Kent and be like this kind of mild-mannered reporter and stuff like that. You know what I mean? If he's just always like got the weight of the world on his shoulders, it's not as interesting of a story. But yeah, what are you most excited for out of if we're doing DC and Marvel? What's the thing you're most excited for, and what's the thing you're least excited for?
Superman, because I think you're 100% right. It's going to be what I think people are going to base what James Gunn is doing. I don't think Peacemaker, I don't think people paid much attention to it, even though it was a great show. And I don't think, being that it's Peacemaker, I don't think a lot of people put much weight to it in the grander scheme of things. But Superman is just like, I mean, if it's going to be like Thanos level, Dark Side type level threats, I mean, that's him.
Right.
So. Um, Most excited about that. And like, dude, I want to be excited about Captain America. Like, I'm not really, even with Red Hulk. When Red Hulk was announced in the comics, to me, that was like, oh my God, there's another Hulk. Like, that's awesome. And you didn't know who it was. And it was like such a, like, for a while, it took a while to find out who it was. And, he just, beat the shit out of Green Hulk.
Everybody.
Yeah, and it was just like he was such a big threat. But here, like, no disrespect to Captain America, right? But he's like he's going against
Yeah.
Captain America first. And we even with the show Falcon, we didn't really we kind of saw him training and leveling up, but he's gonna have to like go like on some Super Saiyan like type upgrades to even have a chance, which, probably he can do it. But like the how Red Hulk came out in the comics, how much of a big threat to like start off here, or who knows, maybe they'll introduce like maybe Green Hulk will come out and like that's gonna be like they'll battle it out and they'll show like that's how much of a big threat he is. But I don't think so.
Yeah. I think I think the biggest problem that I see with that movie is like even if you had Steve Rogers, Captain America, who is super soldier serum enhanced, right? The strongest that any human could ever be, and like the one of the best hand-to-hand combat fighters in the entire Marvel universe, right? If you had him, he would have like he would just get destroyed by the Red Hulk because like the power difference is so different between those two. Now you have Falcon, Captain America, who is a regular human being, no sort of enhancements other than his wings and
Which are vibranium now, so that's
which are,
that's where I didn't get into it. He's got the vibranium shield,
sure,
he's got vibranium wings, so he's gonna be able to take some hits, right? Like,
right, hopefully, I guess. But even then, it's like the shield is made out of vibranium too. So it's like if if you had a normal dude who gets hit by the Hulk and he's holding a vibranium shield, you got to imagine eventually he would just get smushed. You know what I mean? So
well, I
I
don't know. Like, I wonder if they changed anything because, like, in the first Captain America movies and even the first Avenger movies, like, it disperses like
yeah.
the energy or the hits thrown at him. So technically, I guess it would kind of like just maybe not bounce, but kind of like move off, like
Yeah.
so.
But that's
But
all I mean also the Hulk can just grab him and smush him. You know what
yeah,
I mean? There's only so much you can do. I think what I would have liked to have seen out of that movie would be more of a spy espionage thing.
yeah.
Like if you look at Captain America Winter Soldier, which I think is arguably the best one of the best Marvel movies out there. That's maybe not an Avengers movie. Um he's not really fighting that many super powered superhero people. Like Bucky, yeah, he's sure he's got a robot arm or whatever, but it's more like dealing with the inner threats from within the government and that sort of thing. And that was very interesting to see him, see a superhero try to deal with that. And I think if this movie does the part where he's like dealing with, what's his name, Thunderbolt Ross as the president, if they really nail those parts of it, it could be an interesting movie. I just think that the superhero action part of it is just gonna feel really cheap almost.
But
Um,
we'll see. I mean, could be wrong.
I think the thing I'm most excited for is going to be the Daredevil Born Again. I'm very excited about that. He's one of my favorite superheroes. And just from the trailer, like they were making sure that you knew they're like, see, guys, we kept it rated R. Like it is.
Look, we showed you a bone breaking.
Yeah, there's so many bones breaking in that trailer. They're like, see, guys, we did it. So I'm excited to see that one. Superman would be a close second. We'll see after the Fantastic Four. That could get me really hyped for the Fantastic Four once the trailer comes out. Um, yeah, the least excited. Ooh, I mean, honestly, a lot of the Disney Plus movies, like I couldn't give a shit about. The Ironheart, like I just don't care. The Eyes of Wakanda, like once we know more about it, maybe it could be cool, but like, I don't care about Wakanda. I care about the Black Panther. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see that. But those two are probably some of the ones I'm least excited for. And
Well,
then,
the Wakanda one's a cartoon, so who knows? I mean, The what ifs have been fun. Um,
Uh-huh.
so
They've been
we'll
they've been fine. I haven't even watched the newest one.
they're fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're fun. You should
I
watch them.
didn't yeah, I watched the first two seasons. I didn't watch season 3 that came out around Christmas. A lot of that stuff just flies under the radar, you know. There's not a big
Well,
hype about it.
I mean, things could seep over, right? Because you're dealing with multiverse stuff. And we did see Captain Carter show up in
Yeah.
the uh, the Madness Doctor
Multiverse of
Strange.
Madness. Yeah.
Yeah, so some stuff could seep over, um, but they're fun. You should watch them.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes. All right. If you had to give them like one piece of advice, how do we save the MCU or comic movies in general? What do you think has been missing these past, you know, couple years now?
I don't think everything has to tie into a bigger battle. I don't think everything has to be it leading towards an epic event. And I think they should just leave the directors do their parts. Like, hey, these are the beats. We just need you to make sure this and this shows up because it could tie into this. It may not, but the rest is all yours. Go
Yeah.
for it. Go bananas. And I think that's what worked with Deadpool and Wolverine because none of it really mattered. Like because all of these characters are dying, and they could have just like, oh, that happened in the Fox stuff, and doesn't matter. None of it mattered, and I think that's why Ryan Reynolds was given so much freedom
Yeah.
to do things, and look what happened. I mean, fucking best grossing rated R movie. So, and I think that's kind of they should. I hope they learn from it.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, let's just let them do what they want. Like obviously it worked,
I
but
think I
like I
think you're right. I think, that's what if we look back to the beginning of the MCU, right? They made Iron Man and it was just a movie. There was no planned universe or anything. There was some little like Easter eggs for comic fans and stuff like that, but it was just a good movie. And when they made Captain America the First Avenger, same thing. Like yes, it had some little like after credit scene and whatnot, and little nods to other MCU stuff, but it was just a good Captain America movie, you know? And I think if they're gonna kind of reset the MCU and make it into something that can survive for another 10 years, they really have to focus on that again. It can't all be big picture stuff. Like it can't all be a big after credit scene for the next Avengers movie. You know what I mean? They have to, like when Fantastic Four comes out, it has to be its own movie and it has to be do that really well. Because if it doesn't, no one's going to care about, you know, Avengers Doomsday or whatever.
I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is coming back, so people are gonna care. And honestly, I'm a little excited to see him turn heel. He was a face, and now he's fucking heel. Like, and I feel like he's gonna have so much fucking fun with it that
Yeah,
it's gonna just seep through to the audience.
I hope so. I mean, he's a great actor. It's a weird move making him Doctor Doom, but you know, I'm interested to see. I think we're the two of us are in a different category. Most folks aren't gonna just see the good and the bad no matter what, you know. Um, but yeah, I'm excited to see what he does, but it's a weird move, man.
I don't know. I don't know. I think if they just let Robert Downey Jr. let him do his thing,
Yeah.
listen to what he says. Like, hey, I think I should do this. Like, just fucking let it happen.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Well, what do you guys think? What's your most excited comic book movie coming out, and what's your least exciting one? Put that down in the comments. Let us know. We like hearing about that kind of stuff. I hope they're good, man. I mean, I hope they're all good. At least Daredevil looks great. So, and we'll check out the trailer tomorrow for Fantastic Four. Maybe that'll be an exciting one.
Yeah. If not, like you said, Sanderson, eventually when they come out.
Yeah, eventually. It might just be another 10 years.
Who knows, man? But like I don't know. I think it's also rough because like us who read the books, we love them. And obviously there's a ton of people that do read the books, but they don't have like this mass market appeal to like, because even if you don't read comics, you fucking knew who Spider-Man was.
Sure.
You're just not going to know who Kaladin, is, or
Yeah.
so
That's why I think Mistborn has to hit hard when it first comes out, and then people will be bought in and then start reading the books and whatnot. So see how that goes. But yeah, that's a conversation for another day. So Christian, thanks for going to see all these probably terrible movies with me.
we'll see. Who knows?
We'll see. Who
I'm
knows?
gonna go in with an open mind.
Yeah, exactly. To all the nerds out there, remember, you're not alone. You're with friends. This is Nerds with Friends. Thank you and good night.